So, have the climate scientists ever got this wrong? Let's have a listen to Leonard Nimoy from 1978.
There is little doubt that someday the ice will return. At least 8 times in the past million years, it has advanced and retreated with clockwork regularity. If we are unprepared for the next advance, the result could be hunger and death on a scale unprecedented in all of history. What scientists are telling us now is that the threat of an ice age is not as remote as they once thought. During the lifetime of our grandchildren, Arctic cold and perpetual snow could turn most of the inhabitable portions of our planet into a polar desert. In 1977, the worst winter in a century struck the United States. Arctic cold gripped the Midwest for weeks on end. Great blizzards paralyzed cities of the Northeast. One desperate night in Buffalo, 8 people froze to death in marooned cars. Pat Bushnell was on the road that night.
I don't want to labour the point, but it's quite clear here that the scientists at that point in time said that it was going to be an ice age for the grandchildren of the time. Well, that's been and possibly gone, and even scientists that were saying, "Oh, we've only got 10 years left," like 15 years ago, including Greta Thunberg, who've now deleted that tweet from that long ago. Obviously, clearly didn't know what they were talking about. So this has just been a little snippet so far of all the information that we've got, but you'll find a lot more at my website at divergentparty.com, specifically under the Falkirk 20-minute neighbourhood section. So to recap, we've asked all the relevant questions, good questions, obvious questions, to not only the Falkirk Council, but Falkirk councillors and MSPs and even the local MP. And unfortunately, we've had very little to no response with regards to answering those questions. We've had responses, but they've come with no answers, unfortunately. And again, you can read all that on the website. Do you feel that the consultation has been good enough, relevant enough? Do you all know about this? I, for one, certainly don't believe we've had sufficient consultation. So, why is all this being done? Well, this is a very interesting video that I'd like to show you right now.
Evening. I've been a supporter of green energy and a keen environmentalist since my 20s. My office is solar powered, so I was mortified to discover that a single lithium mine causes millions of tonnes of waste every year laced with sulfuric acid and radioactive uranium, polluting the water supply for 300 years, not to mention the unacceptable human costs with child labour to mine cobalt. When I researched which solar panel to purchase, I did not for 1 minute consider it would be made by people trapped in razor wire enclosed labour camps, being exposed to large quantities of quartz dust, which causes silicosis. Please note that the Ethical Consumer Organisation report that it is hard to avoid forced labour in the solar panel supply chain. Wind turbines, which last about 20 years, consume a colossal amount of resources and energy to manufacture and install, not to mention the blight and bird kill. They require diesel engines to start them up and then gallons of oil to lubricate, and they can't readily be recycled. Solar panels are also extremely difficult to recycle, costing more than the production of the panel, and lithium batteries pose steep challenges too. Add to that the human suffering, which we've all unwittingly been part of just by owning a laptop or mobile phone, which is minimal compared to what's required for an EV or solar farm. These so-called green or ethical solutions aren't solutions at all. Just very good marketing from the $1.5 trillion a year climate change industry. That's $4 billion a day, by the way. None of us can undo what's already been done, but what we can all do is make sure this doesn't escalate exponentially with fleets of unnecessary EVs and acres of solar farms eating up our precious farmland. Good evening. I've been a supporter.
It's clearly about the money. It's clearly about the money. Fortunately, around the UK, people are waking up to this and they are fighting. This is a Glastonbury City Council meeting.
Council is concerned, we're not doing 15-minute cities. Well, it means...
If they said that Glastonbury had to do it, would you fight it?
I think that Glastonbury would fight it, wouldn't it? Well, we represent the people of Glastonbury. If the people of Glastonbury don't want 15-minute cities, then we represent that, don't we? That's what we're here for. Right.
And I'm wondering if Falkirk Council will have the same opinion. Let's see. Time will tell.
Well, if we don't, you know what to do next time there's an election, don't you? So, Sandy, would you like to speak now? I got it.
Thank you, and thank you. Well, Leela's covered a lot of what I was going to speak about, which is great because it leads me to look at the bigger picture. And yes, it's great that I couldn't find anything in Mendip District Council about 15-minute cities, but it's important that we know about them, and it's important that we know about low, the low emission. Zones that they want to implement in smaller towns. So what I'm just saying is basically, this ideology isn't a grassroots, the whole 15-minute city ideology is not a grassroots initiative. It's actually a global initiative. And it was brought in by Boris Johnson, Michael Bloomberg, and Carlos Moreno in 2004 under the C40 Cities International organization, which Sadiq Khan is now the chairman. Contrary to propaganda, it's not a grassroots initiative, yeah, I've said that, but a top-down global plan under UN Agenda 21-2030 to really roll out the 17 sustainable goals under net zero. I know that all the green people here are comfortable with net zero, but if you understood the longer-term implications of net zero, and I've given you all the absolute zero document, and I hope you'll read it because that coloured bit shows you what is to be achieved by 2030. And that means no flying out of the UK, no ships out of the UK, no cars at all, and no, all wood burners to be ripped out of every home and every gas appliance to be ripped out of every home by 2025. Now, that is a government document, UK fires, absolute zero, and this is where we're heading for with net zero. We will literally be imprisoned on our own island. And this is what this top-down global control is all about. You think it's a green agenda to actually save the planet. It is not. It was implemented at the Earth Summit in 1992 by a bunch of oil billionaires, crooks. And and all of you, bless you, are trying to save the planet, and you've been hoodwinked. I was in the Green Party in the 1990s. I left. I was a member of the Ecology Party. I left because it got taken over. It became a Trojan horse for the technocratic agenda that I'm talking about, Agenda 2030. And I tell you what, they planned this from the 1970s. It's a long-term agenda. And I would love to be able to give all of you a presentation. I've been on this for 15 years, and I've been giving talks all over the world about this via YouTube everywhere, because I'm passionate about it. I've impoverished myself doing this. So I just want you to just hear me out. We're living now in what's known as what's coming is what's known as a zero trust world. So whether you know it or not, the digital ID is coming. Now, this is a big thing for everyone to understand. Digital ID is really the way the government will actually have all your data.
Now, I know this is going on a bit, but I make no apologies. This woman is speaking absolutely spot on. She's talking about digital currencies. She's talking about the World Economic Forum and how they're involved. And I'd just like to show you something from the World Economic Forum right now. So this is from the World Economic Forum, and it's the Urban Mobility Scorecard tool. And what it states quite clearly here on the fourth page is, along our current trajectory, that would mean 2.1 billion passenger vehicles emitting 4.6 billion tons of carbon by 2050. But there is another way: growing the use of shared electric connections and automated transport modes and shift to more compact cities could reduce the vehicle numbers in 2050 to just 500 million. So from 2.1 billion on this trajectory to 500 million, that's a 75% plus reduction in vehicles, in cars, that the World Economic Forum are looking to do. I really think you should go view this video that I've got online. I think it's worth a watch. And I would like now just to summarize by saying, we are working for everybody's best interest. We want freedom for everybody. There are issues with the climate with regards to rubbish and the amount of landfill we have and other problems around the environment. But this is not the way to fix it. Please take a look at the divergentparty.com website and get in touch if you would like to know more. Thank you for your time, and I'm sure together we'll be successful.